All right, if you're having trouble with the solving inequalities for 2 steps, go ahead and work with this video to help you solve the problems on your worksheet. So here we go. So for the first one, we see that there is negative 4q plus 5 and then less than 33. So the first thing you need to do is work on the side of the variable, or in this case, q. So now we're going to see that this is negative 4 times q, and then you're adding 5. You're going to start with what's being added to or subtracted to your variable. So we're going to have this positive 5 here, and we want to get rid of it. So to get rid of it, we are going to subtract 5 on both sides so we keep our equation, or in this case, our inequality, equal. So I'm left with negative 4q. The 5's will become 0. That's a 0 pair. And then I still have less than, and then I have 33 minus 5, and that is 28. The next thing I need to do is I need to divide. So this is a negative 4 times q. So the opposite of times is divide. And I want to get a positive 1. So negative 4 divided by a negative 4 will give me a positive 1. So then I'm going to go ahead and divide by a negative 4 here. So this would give me a positive 1. So I'm left with q here. And then 28 divided by 4 is 7, but a positive divided by a negative is a negative, so it's a negative 7. The last step, we got to be careful with this one because we divided by a negative. And because we divided by a negative, that means we need to flip the inequality. Oops, that's not a... flip the inequality, or flip the sign, right? So this less than will now become a greater than. All right, so now we need to graph. So there is no line under this inequality. So that means that it is an open dot or circle at negative 7. So I'm going to put a circle on negative 7. And then it says q is greater than, so that means that is greater than, so it's all the numbers that are bigger than negative 7. Let's go on to the next question. All right, for number 2, I see 3z plus 4. We're going to start on the right side this time because the variable's on the right, because here a variable, remember, is your letter. So I need to start on the right side. But remember, I don't start with my multiplication. I'm going to start with what's being added and subtracted, or subtracted from it. In this case, it's adding 4, so we're going to do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. That's a 0 pair, so I'm left with 3z is less than, or if you want to read it, so 3z is less than, and then negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18. The signs are the same, so we keep them negative, and then you add 14 and 4. All right, so the next step is now I have 3 times z, so the opposite of division, multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. And then I'm not dividing by a negative, so my inequality stays the same, so I'm left with z here. And then negative 18 divided by 3 will give you a negative answer, so it'd be negative 6. Now, you got to be careful with this because the variable's on the right, and it looks like it looks confusing, so the best thing is to move the variable on the left. So it's always pointing to the variable in this case. So it's pointing to z, so it'll point to z if I flip it, and then negative 6. These are equal. They're just written differently, okay? So now I can graph. There is no line, so that is an open circle at negative 6. And it says z is less than negative 6, so anything to the left. Let's go on to number 3. All right, so we're going to start on the variable side. I see the variables on the left. It's right here. So I'm going to get rid of this 2, so I'd have to subtract 2 on both sides. So I am left with negative 4s is greater than or equal to, and then 32. I'm now going to get rid of this negative 4, right? I want a positive 1, so negative 4 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 1, so that means I need to divide by a negative 4 on the left and the right. So that gives me 1s. So s is not greater than or equal to, because we divided by a negative this time. That means that we flip or reverse the sign. Okay, so I'm going to change this symbol to point the other direction, and 32 divided by 4 is 8, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So I have s is less than or equal to negative 8, so I'm going to put my circle on the negative 8, and it says it's less than or equal to, so that means I need to color it in because it's equal to it, and it's everything that is less than it. Let's go on to number 4. All right, for number 4, I see negative 21 is greater than 3 plus 6c. You should be able to find the variable. It is c. That's the side we're going to start on. So I see that I have 3 plus the 6c. We're going to go away from the variable on the same side of the inequality. So I want to get rid of that 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides of my inequality. The 3 minus 3 is a 0 pair, so I can cross that off. I'm left with 6c. And then I keep my inequality the same for right now. And then I look at these. So I have a negative 21 plus 3 more negatives, or you can keep, since the signs are the same, right? You add them together. So 21 plus 3 is 24, and you keep the sign. So negative 24. Last, I see that 6 times c, so to undo times, we're going to divide by 6 on both sides, so I get a c here. My symbol will stay the same because it is positive. You don't, so you're dividing by a positive, you don't flip, okay? You keep it the same. Or maybe I should say positive, you keep symbol the same, or the inequality the same. All right, so a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. Well, again, my variable, which is c, is on the right, so we got to be careful. So I'm going to actually flip it. So I have c, and it's pointing to c, so I'm going to flip that as negative 4. All right, so on negative 4, I'm going to put a circle there. It is not equal to it, so I don't color it in. And it should be everything less than negative 4. Let's go on to number 5. All right, here's our next one. Don't be scared because it has like this line here and it looks like a fraction. It's actually not as bad as it thinks. It just means that you're just going to multiply, which makes it a little bit easier than dividing, right? So let's go ahead and solve this inequality. So I see that my variable is an f, right, and it's being divided by 6. And then I want to get rid of whatever's being added or subtracted. So in this case, it's adding a positive 2. So do the opposite of a positive. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. So I get f over 6 is less than or equal to, and then the signs are the same, so keep the sign. So I'm doing negative, and then 8 plus 2, or 8 negatives plus 2 negatives is 10 negatives. Next step, I see that's being divided by 6. So what's the opposite of dividing? Well, multiplying. So now I just multiply by 6. Not too bad, right? I can cancel this out because 6 divided by 6 is just 1. So I'm left with f is less than or equal to, and then a negative times a positive is a negative, and that's 60. 6 times 10 is 60. So at negative 60, I have a closed circle because there is a line. So I'm going to fill in my circle because it is equal to it. And it says everything less than -60. All right, for questions 6 through 10, I do want you to go ahead and try to do these on your own. Solve them first, and then you can check your answers. Good luck.